The miter box saw is used to cross-cut a board. We have two miter box saws in the lab. This is the first one, and the other one we will get to later. Number two, the boards less than 6 inches long may not be cut on this miter box saw, so we're talking about the length there. Number three, boards wider than 5 inches long may not be cut on the miter box saw. That is because when you come down with the saw, it will not cut all the way through. Number four, boards thicker than 4 inches may not be cut on the miter box saw, and that would be the thickness such as a 4x4, a post that is used in a deck would be about the biggest you could cut in here. So otherwise you would hit the bolt that holds onto the blade. Number five, always know where your fingers are. With this machine, you're actually bringing the saw into the wood, okay, versus pushing the wood into the saw like on the table saw. So you want to make sure that your fingers are not in the way when you're bringing down the blade. 6. Ask me for help when sawing a board longer than 2 feet. If you are longer than the bed here of this saw, it is too long and you cannot operate it safely, ask me for help. Number 7, never lift or remove the guard. The guard is here to protect you from the blade, and under no circumstance do you want to take that off or jam it up, so it does not work. Number 8, always support the board properly. It's very important that there are no crumbs here, no sawdust, that your board is flat on the table and tight against the back fence. You need to hold it nice and tight there. Number 9, never reach around, under, or across the blade. You typically operate the saw with your right hand on the trigger here and the handle, left hand on the board. However, I have seen people try to cut a board this way. Alright, as you can see, this does not look right, and it doesn't feel right, and it's not right. Okay? So make sure that your hand is on the left side, your other hand is on the right side, and you feel comfortable operating the saw. Make sure that the blade is at full speed before making contact with the board. You want to make sure that the blade is spinning at full RPMs before hitting the board, or you have a chance for possible kickback. Number 11, avoid kickback by making slow, constant speed cuts. Many times I see students come over here and cut, and they just keep pounding right through the wood. You need to go at a slow, constant pace so you do not get a kickback. After you cut the board, you want to make sure that you wait for the blade to stop. Alright? If you lift the blade up while it's moving and the board slides into the blade, there is a chance for kickback. So you want to make sure that the blade stops before you lift it up and take your board out of there. 13, ask me for help if you're unsure sawing procedure is safe. It's pretty much common sense. Number 14, always check the guard for smooth operation before using. It's pretty self-explanatory. When you come down here to make a cut, you line up the blade without it running, okay? And that also will check that the guard is moving. If the guard does not move right now, it's not going to move when you saw, all right? Check to make sure that everything moves correctly. 15, make sure that the clamp handle is tight before making a cut. This is the clamp handle, and this is what most people get wrong on their test. They forget the name of it. It is not called a black thingy. It is not called a handle thingy. It is a clamp handle. What it is used for is to hold the table part tight. If you loosen the clamp, push this button, you can pivot the blade. Alright? When you are at the angle that you want it to be at, you simply tighten the handle, therefore it's called a clamp handle. Number 16, never adjust the angle of cut while the blade is running. I think that's common sense. Not to mention, you wouldn't really have another hand to hold the board down. You know, you wouldn't want to be moving this and operating the saw at the same time. Number 17, never remove the workpiece or scrap until the blade has stopped. Again, you do not want to be reaching into that blade or anywhere near it, and you don't want a chance kickback. 18, hands should never be closer than 4 inches from the blade. If they are, you're doing something wrong there. Get those hands out of that danger zone. 19, always remove sawdust and scrap before making a cut. After you saw, you will get some sawdust and scrap pieces in here. After the machine is shut off, wipe them out of the way, blow them out of the way, get those crumbs out of there so you do get a nice tight fit between the table and the fence. And finally, number 20, this miter box may be used to cut angles. As I demonstrated before, when I turned the clamp handle, you can pivot the angle of the blade so it will cut angles, otherwise known as a miter joint. That's why it's called a miter box saw, because it cuts miters. Okay? I'm going to demonstrate this here in a moment. Let me get another piece of scrap wood that was too large. Alright. This board was wider than 5 inches, and that's why I could not cut this one, so I have chosen this one instead. We're going to square one end, or make the end 90 degrees to the edges. To do so, I put the jointed, or X edge, against the fence, hold it nice and tight. I bring the blade down, so I'm just cutting a little bit off, about 1/8 of an inch. I hold it nice and tight. Get the blade at full speed. Wait till the blade stops, lift up my saw, and I should have a 90-degree corner at this point. Then we usually put an X on the end and we can move on with our squaring of the board process.